Good evening, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S exam prep. So today we are going to talk about abstract reasoning. Okay, so what are the topics that are asked in abstract reasoning, and how do you need to prepare and target these questions in the examination? Okay, so you know that it is one of the sections of your Maharashtra CT. So what is meant by abstract reasoning? There are some people who do not know what is abstract reasoning, right? So because it is not asked in other examinations. Okay, so some people do not know that what is abstract reasoning. Okay, so for the ones, I'm sure if you are preparing, if you are a serious aspirant, you would already be knowing this. So it is a test that uses shapes and patterns to test your reasoning. Okay, so when a reasoning consists of just shapes and patterns, that is called abstract reasoning. It is also given by other names. Like sometimes what happens is you try to search for something, you search abstract reasoning in Google, you do not get any content for it. Okay, कई लोग abstract reasoning search मारते हैं and they say that we do not get enough questions for practice. There are other names for this also. It is also called visual reasoning or non-verbal reasoning. Okay, so in case if you want to search some practice questions, instead of just searching abstract reasoning, you can also search visual reasoning, you can search non-verbal. So that is the most common name for this thing, non-verbal reasoning. Okay, in MHCT they call it abstract reasoning, that is also called by these names. So if you ever wish to practice questions online, you can search non-verbal reasoning, you will get plenty of questions. It is also asked in some other examinations like SSC, railway, etc., and some foreign exams also. Right. So if you search for this, you shall be able to find some content related to this. Okay, so this is a reasoning which tests your understanding of visual figures, right? That is why also called visual and non-verbal, because it does not have any words written there. Okay. Now, why is it important from for MHCT perspective? Is it is also asked in and is also asked in other examinations also like CMAT and MAT, but very few questions, right? In other examinations, you will hardly find one or two questions from visual reasoning. But when it comes to Maharashtra CT, it is a special section in itself, right? So there is a section by this name, and the weight is 25 questions, right? So that is 1/8 of the paper, which is a significant part. Okay, so you cannot ignore it altogether. You think that okay, I will ignore this section, I will do attempts other section. Okay, fine, you will be able to do well in other sections, but this should not be overlooked at like completely. Okay, so you should be doing something in this, at least practicing some stuff, so that if you get some marks in this section, good. Now, what are the basics you need to have? You need to have clarity about these things. You should be able to rotate figures, right? You should be knowing that what is rotation, how figures are rotated, clockwise and anti-clockwise. Okay, so if you see a clock is like this. Okay, so the clock moves like this, so this direction is called clockwise direction, and this is anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so you must be good with rotation. Sometimes it may not be complete rotation, it might be by some degree, maybe like 45-degree rotation, it could be 90-degree rotation, 180-degree rotation, 135-degree rotation. So you should be comfortable by uh, to see how figures look when they rotate. Okay, so let us say you have this image. Okay, so if I say that if you rotate it clockwise 90-degree, so how it will like, it will look like something like this. It's a 90-degree rotation. So they won't ask you that you have to rotate by this angle, but your visual skills to see rotated images should be good. Okay, then another thing that you need to be good at is mirror and water images. Okay, So mirror image is basically your horizontal flip. If you turn an image horizontally, that is called horizontal flip. Water image is your vertical flip. Okay. Now what happens in a mirror image is your left turns into right and vice versa, right? Whatever is on the left side. So this arrow was pointing on the right side. Now this arrow is pointing to the left side, right? If you talk about G, like this curve is on the left side, you see that this curve is towards the right side. Okay, so B was on the left side, B comes to the right side. So left and right interchange, and top and bottom remain same. Okay, so if you see this arrow is towards the bottom of this image, right? So it is also towards the bottom of this. Now in case of water image, top and bottom get exchanged and left and right remain the same. Okay, so if you see this thing, so this arrow was pointing towards right, it is still pointing towards right, but the arrow was towards down. Now it has come up. Okay, similarly these arrows, this one was pointing left and it was down, so it has become up. Okay, and the direction is same. Okay, so that is about mirror and water image. So you should be clear with these things, mirror, water images, and your rotation things. Okay, so those things should be known to you. Now, what are the easy topics in this section? Okay, there are some topics which can be easily mastered, and like even if you're not able to do difficult ones, you should cover those. But it depends, right? What kind of questions you expect in the examination. For the past few years, there had been some difficult questions also. But if you want to start this, so what you should start with, right? If you directly jump into difficult questions, it might become challenging for you to solve, right? So you should start with things like embedded figures, right? Embedded figures is a simple topic, okay, and that involves basically you have to find some hidden portion of a figure, right? So in this case, there is some hidden portion. So to find that in which figure is that hidden portion. And completion of incomplete pattern, it is also a simple topic that they will give you three parts. They will ask for the fourth part. Okay. So again, these things involve your rotation, reflection, etc. Right. So you should be thorough with the symmetry of images. So basically it requires your visual skills, how good you can find the symmetry between images. Okay, how easily can you rotate them in your head? You do not need to draw every time, right? Can you imagine, visualize in your brain that how is the image rotating, etc. Okay, then there are questions on cubes, right? What are the different sides of a cube? Okay, not the cat wala cube wherein you have to count that cutting and all. So it is basically sides of cube. Okay, so basically if you fold a cube, that how will it look like? You are shown two pieces of a dice and asked that which is on the opposite side, etc. So that is that these are easy topics which are asked in the visual reasoning section. Now coming to the moderate topics, right? So if we talk about, then there is figure counting. Okay, now figure counting could be, sometimes it could be easy, right? If they are very standard figures, sometimes it could be moderate also, right? And remember that if there are too many figures, right, if there are too many figures, avoid such questions, because what happens is uh, like there are options like how many triangles are there, the options are 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So maybe you counted and you found 13 triangles, but there were actually 14. Okay, so this could happen many a times, but one thing is that since in Maharashtra city you do not have negative marking, so you can attempt these questions in the paper. Then series based questions. Series based questions is they will give you like 5 images, 4 or 5 images, and ask the next one. Okay, so they can have something like this, just giving a very simple example, right? So they might ask what will happen in this, right? So again in this also what you need is you need to see the pattern, how things are rotating, right? Are they going from left to right? Are they moving diagonally, right? So you need to check the movement of elements. So there can be two elements also like this. There can be multiple elements, so you need to see that in which direction are these things moving. Okay, then paper folding, unfolding, cutting, that is also a moderate level topic. Again, you need to, again, this requires your reflection skills. Right, if you make a certain cut in the paper and then unfold it, how will that reflect on the other side, right? So basically, mix of water plus mirror image. So if it is a vertical reflection, that is water image. If it's a horizontal reflection, it is mirror image. So that skill is used in this topic, paper folding, uh, unfolding, cutting. Okay. Now, if we talk about the difficult topics, what are the difficult topics in this? So one is analogy, right? Sometimes it could be moderate, sometimes it could be difficult also. Okay. So in this, what happens is there is some relation between A and B. The same relation has to be between C and D. So they will give you something of A and B. They will give you C. They will ask what is D. Okay, so that is called analogy. Okay, so these topics, uh, if you want to practice, you can search for this analogy based visual reasoning. So I'm telling you some Googling skills as well, right? So you can search for these topics and practice some questions. Let us say if you want to practice, like if you have mock test and done with all those things, you can search online for these things, analogy based verbal, non-verbal reasoning or analogy based visual reasoning, and you will find questions on these topics. Then there is odd one out. Okay, odd one out is always challenging, whether it is just some words or it is among images, right? So this is quite tricky. You need to observe each and every image, and now remember this, in this there is no series. Okay, these are not related to one another, like first is not related to second and second is not related to third. So four images are of same type, one will be odd one out. And then let us look at what are the things that you need to master in this section, right? So the basic skills that you need, first is practice all variants of questions, like I showed you that what are the easy, moderate and difficult. Now till 2020 it used to have difficult questions, like it used to ask analogy, series, odd one, right? So it used to have moderate to difficult questions. Okay, so that was the case, but in 2020 it was like it had questions on figure counting. There were questions on mirror and water image also. Right, so people almost ignored these questions while practicing. They thought that okay, yahi aa raha hai, so let us practice this only. So make sure that you practice all variants because the pattern is uncertain. Okay, so last year there were questions on mirror image, water image, figure counting, and cubes also, right? So all those kind of questions were tested in 2021. Before, I think till 2014-15 also they used to ask these kind of questions. Right, so they stopped asking after that, right? For the past 4 5 years, they were asking these kind of questions, right? So better be prepared for all variants of questions. Okay, the key to do this is, see, you know the basics, you understand how figures are rotated, how they are, the reflection happens. You need to observe the individual elements present in the question figure very carefully. So there may be 3 to 4 elements in a figure, let us say in a series. So you need to check that what is happening to individual element, right? So what will generally happen is it will rotate, it can reflect, right? Sometimes it can be reflection, sometimes it could be a shift by one position, okay, or it could be a new element. Sometimes some elements are shifted, some new elements, or it could be swap of elements. Okay, so when you practice questions, you know, okay, these are the different things happening. Either the elements keep rotating at certain angle, either they are reflected like water image or mirror image is happening. Either there is a shift of elements, right? They are shifted towards right or shifted to left. Okay, or it could be introduction of new element. Let us say 3 element shift, one element is new element. Okay, or it could be swap of element. Let us say there are 4 elements, 1 2 3 4, so 1 gets swapped with 3, okay, and 2 and 4 get swapped, so that is a possibility. Okay, so that those are the things that happen. Sometimes like something is in the corner, it has come to the center, some center thing has this, the top center has come to the exact center, so that you need to observe these patterns. Okay, so these are the common things that happen. So when you practice a variety of questions, you understand, अच्छा किसी में new element आ जाता है, किसी में rotate हो जाता है, किसी में mirror image बन सकती है, water image बन सकती है and all. Okay, then a good way to do these questions is to eliminate options. See, when you draw figure, it takes time to draw figure, right? So if you have figured out the first, you have to find the pattern. Okay, so if you have figured out the pattern, then try to eliminate options. For example, if you see that new element is introduced, right, and you see 2 answer options do not have a new element, so remove that. So in order to eliminate options, what you need to do is go by individual elements. Let us check for one element. You might be able to eliminate some options. Let us say you eliminated option 1. You check the second element, you eliminated options 3 and 5. And you check for the third element, you have eliminated option 4. Then you said that your answer is option 2. Okay, so that is the strategy to solve these questions. Okay? And one thing that you remember is these questions might be very challenging also, right? People love solving these questions. Make sure you do not spend too much time on a particular question. And if you are unable to find out the pattern, just leave that. Okay, because even if you are very good at reasoning, it might be possible that you may not be able to find out the pattern, and it is a common process, right? So it happens in number series also. Some people think that मेरी reasoning तो बहुत अच्छी है, how can I not find this pattern, and they end up spending a lot of time on one particular question. So remember, if you are able to figure out this pattern, good. If not, just don't break your head in a particular question. There are other sections to do in the paper. Okay, so sometimes this section can be challenging in this way that people spend up too much time on one particular question. And one advice that I would say is, like, try it in your mock test also. Try to attempt the section in different installments. Let us say you solve like 6 to 8 questions, right? Then break, right? Then you move to some other section. Then coming back, you do 6 to 8 questions and so on, right? Then so the reason being, see, these questions require a lot of focus, and like you have to draw diagrams also. Sometimes you have to visualize in your head, right? So it becomes very tiring. If you do like at a stretch, if you do more than 10 questions, you will feel like that you are actually taking much more time than you were starting afresh. Okay, so since if it is all 25 questions all together, so make sure you attempt certain questions, move to other section, then come back. Don't try to do all questions at one go. You will yourself realize that it is very tiring. ये बहुत सर दर्द होने लगता है, because in every image you have to rotate, you have to check for all these things, right? So you keep rotating your head, okay, this looks like this angle forms like this, etc., etc. So it requires a lot of focus. Okay, and the focus span is less. In other questions, okay, you can read and write, but here you have to be focused at one place, right? So just an advice, I mean, you can try by doing this thing, that attempting some questions, then doing other section, then coming back to it, and see the change in productivity in this section. Okay, so this is something that you need to do for this section, and this is how you can uh, do well in this section. Just the thing is, this point keep in mind, right? Do not take things to your ego. Sometimes there might be patterns which cannot be easily identified. Okay, so do not think यार ये मुझसे नहीं हो रहा है, I have to spend too much time. Just do that much which you feel you are comfortable in. You do not get headache while solving these questions. So till that time it is easy, right? But sometimes it might be very challenging, that like you are not able to find a pattern and people stick to those questions. So just skip that, because there it will have all individual questions. They will not have a group instruction key, like you have in puzzles, right? If you solve a puzzle, you do multiple questions, right? But in this case, that will have all individual questions. So make sure that you do not spend too much time in one particular question, and give breaks to attempt this section, and you shall be able to do well in this. We have already had some classes on this, and we will take some more sessions in which we will practice questions from these different topics. Okay, so we are preparing for CAT and other MBA entrance examinations for 2022-23 season. You can enroll in our course. It contains live classes as well as recorded ones, and there are mock tests, practice questions, right? Class tests, and we provide books as well, plus lessons for GDPI and VAT. Uh, so if you wish to enroll, you can call us on this number and speak to our counselors. This was about this section, right? This abstract reasoning, that how to excel in this section, right? So it is just about observation skills, and the more practice. See, obviously, if your visualization skills are good, right, it requires practice. And if you practice well, you will be familiar with different variants, right? What are the different varieties, right? Then it could have a mirror image, it could have a rotation, right? Or it could have, let us say, shifting of elements. So when you practice, you know, acha, these are the different possibilities in which they can have a series. Like it's like, let's say, like number series, right? If you practice, you know that what are the different logic they ask. So practice gives you they help determine the different logic that they use in questions. Okay, so you are already aware of some logics. Okay, so that definitely helps. If you have seen that logic somewhere, you will be able to relate. Otherwise, like if your logical thinking is good, you can do it on the spot. But if you have practiced well, then it becomes better. And apart from that, as I said, that do it in different installments, and don't spend too much time on your on one particular question. If you are not able to identify the logic, it is perfect, perfectly fine, right? And if you talk about the time given to this, uh, try to give 15 to 20 minutes at max, right? Not more than that, unless you are very good in other sections, or very bad in other sections, that you do not want to do questions. But if you are like doing equally good in other sections, I would say that 15 to 20 minutes, even if you solve 15 questions, that is perfectly fine, because other sections will comparatively take less time to solve questions, because those are group questions. In this, all questions are individual. Okay, so, but in other sections, like in reasoning, you will have puzzles, right? In VRC, you might have RC passages, so multiple questions with it. Quant, you might have DIL, the DI questions. Okay, so give this. This is the ideal time range. because you do not want to attempt 25 on 25. Okay, there will be some questions which will be tricky also. Okay. All right, so that is about this abstract reasoning section and how do you approach it. We do take some practice sessions on it. We have already have some on our YouTube channel, and we'll continue to take more. And so please do watch those sessions on it. All right, so thanks for watching this video. Have a great night. Goodbye.